Ben, it's good to have you. I'm not sure. Is Emily with you?
Yes, absolutely, and thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. You and Emily seem like a good team there. So it's good to have you guys. Let's talk about this whole mobile thing. And then I have some more interesting stats I want to throw your way to get your opinion. But let's, because there's still a lot of scratching the head. Hey, what is that? Kind of like where social media was 3 or 4 years ago. A lot of small business owners, especially, scratching their heads, wondering what to do. But let's talk about optimizing the site for mobile devices.
Sure.
What can you tell us on that?
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about it. People talk about mobile optimization, and really, there's two things to be looking at here. I mean, everyone typically, when I have a discussion with them, is should I build an application, should I build an app, or should I optimize my website, and what does that really mean? And what we're going to talk about a little bit is just a little bit about the differences. I mean, obviously, the biggest difference is if you have a website in your business is that the mobile device is significantly smaller. And now with the proliferation of all these different devices, tablets, mobile, all different sizes, now you have all different resolutions going from very small to very large. And a unique thing happened in Q4 of last year. For the first time, more smartphones were shipped than PCs. And what Gartner's telling us is by 2014 that 64% of all computer devices will be tablets and smartphones. So if you own a business, you really need to start getting in this game now. And just taking your existing website and having it come up on a tablet or a mobile just doesn't work for people, because the devices act a little bit differently, and they tend to have different capabilities. First of all, I think the biggest thing about people that use mobile is that once you start doing it, that doesn't leave their side. It's just, and the people that have it are willing to actually pay for content, which 76% of them pay for content using mobile devices, where only about a third do that.
Yeah,
on
one of the things on my mind, I publish a few online publications that people do pay for to get, and one of the things certainly on my mind to do some research on over the next couple of months is is this whole optimizing some sort of call it print if you will, but text or media for tablets, because
Exactly.
in the future, that's where a lot of people will get their their information, whether it's in bite-sized chunks or complete newspapers. What do you think?
Well, I think the tablets are really helping the publishers primarily, because when you take a look at the types of formatting of a newspaper or news, I heard you talk about Fox News. I look at it every morning, and on my iPhone, it's all crinkled up and small. But when I look at it on my iPad, it's more like a magazine. It's more natural. So definitely, The proliferation of tablets is going to help the publishers and people that want to get that content out.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes, like I said, it'll be, I know it was News Corp and Rupert Murdoch who did the first, I forget what the actual magazine's called, but it's strictly for the iPad,
Exactly,
paid subscription. If it was $1 a day or 50 cents a day or whatever it was, delivered to your iPad,
Yeah, and the real
so yes.
problem is, you got the Apple camp and you got the Google camp.
Yep.
And, right now
You
there's
don't play nicely.
249 Google smartphones, and then there's the iPhone. So if you're trying to be on these devices, there's just so many variations of them. What should you do? Android right now has the greatest market share. So some of the things you can do is, set it up so that, if you have a website, that the website does a multi-site capability where it reads the device and it creates a different format, a completely different format and different content, much in like you said for Rupert Murdoch, where from the same base, there's a completely different format and for the iPad as opposed to a PC and as opposed to a mobile device, and that's what we call multi-site. What's really exciting right now is this adaptive technology that is based upon, and I'm going to get a little technical here, HTML5 and CSS3. And with this new adaptive technology that's being developed right now, actually reorients your web pages for the device. In other words, if you have an iPhone, it could be the little screen, or the iPhone could be hooked up to a huge 2,000 pixel monitor, and it will change the formatting and the orientation based upon the device. So there's a couple ways you can go. Also, another way to go is there's a lot of integration products. I don't know if you've ever heard of Mobify, which is free actually for small business owners, where it actually scrapes your website and creates specific sites for mobile devices. I think that the way not to go, though, is to just have people go in and, have separate little websites that aren't integrated back into their corporate website, especially if you're changing content a lot. If you have a lot of different, if you're a publisher, like we were talking about publisher, where you're changing every day, that would mean you'd have to go to all these different devices. So in that type of situation, you would want to look more towards the multi-site or the adaptive technology.
Right, you have to, I know, like, for instance, a lot of the clients I deal with, for the most part, they may publish a blog and some updates and some events that are coming up, but their main core marketing website, pretty much stays the same unless it's time to change things up from an offer standpoint or it's time to change things up, from a message standpoint. Then there'll be a little more. I'm sure you've dealt with people like this too. Not that you encourage people to leave things static, but they're not really in the publishing world, quote unquote. They may be in the chiropractic world or the plumbing world or the martial arts world or whatever world they're in. So they're not, their publishing comes in the effect of, maybe a blog, a newsletter for the most, for their clients and patients, and then, events that are coming up. But for the most part, their core message stays relatively the same. So yeah, I agree. I would think it would be, different strokes for different folks, really, depending on their business and how they're going to adapt. But the point is, and I think you'd agree, is that either way, it really is time to get into the game. But here's what's interesting. Using Google's keyword tool, there's a term now, mobile marketing, and obviously there's a term internet marketing. When you type in internet marketing to Google's keyword research, you can see that the estimate is 1 million searches per month on internet marketing. But mobile marketing is much lower. It's not even, it's like a tenth of what people. So it still hasn't quite hit them in the face yet. I don't know.
Well, I think it hasn't, but the small business owner, medium business owner needs to understand that more and more people are using mobile devices.
Right.
And, as time goes on, people are going to prefer them. And, we're seeing the PC, the desktop definitely languish with laptops. And as tablets and netbooks go on, people are going to get further and further away from that desktop computer. And they really need to be thinking, do they want to do e-commerce online? You can now do e-commerce on a mobile device. You can actually take credit cards on a mobile device.
That's really powerful too. Thinking about having a mobile shopping carts and being able just to, instead of whipping out your credit card, being able to just punch in your phone number or something like that. Of course, it'll take a little time for people to get secure with it. Just like there was with online shopping, people worried about getting their card numbers stolen and all that stuff. So, I think, you remember the web, you remember, your web experience goes way back. So, and before we run, I think it's a similar path, except for, I think Chuck Martin, what he said was, the difference is that that the network is already there. Whereas with the internet, people had to actually go get online.
Right.
But in this case, they're already there. They already have their smartphones. They already have their, so.
And I think they do have it, and they're using them more and more. And for the business owner, they need to realize it's here to stay. And it's, Michael Dell had the best quote. He was totally caught off guard by this. And in an interview he did a couple months ago, he said, I missed this completely. So even some of the experts didn't realize just how fast tablets and these smartphones would grow.
It's the speed. It's the speed of proliferation for sure. All right, well, cool. Well, Ben and Emily, great. Thank you for joining us. And I think your website is CommonPlaces.com. Is that right?
Yeah, our website is CommonPlaces.com. And if anybody wants a copy of the presentation I've been giving, was in D.C. last week, just Ben at CommonPlaces.com. I'd be happy to send it to you with all the data and recommendations and how you can get into this exciting business.
Awesome, Ben. Well, hey, thanks for joining us, and appreciate the connection. All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, hey, we're talking a little bit of mobile, like we weave in on occasion. Definitely important for you to be ahead of trends as opposed to getting run over by them. And we've been trying to update you over the last month or so about that. We're gonna take a break in the mix with Mike D. We'll come back in a few minutes. Stay tuned.